Tonight, I'm at Dunwich Beach, a place that was once one of the biggest towns in England. 7 churches, bustling streets, and people walking around, getting on with their daily life. But the sea took it. All that's left now are ruins, cliffs, and this beautiful beach. But if you believe the stories, a few souls never left. And I'm also here fishing. As you can see, one rod. Tide is going down to low. It's the only time I can get out, so I thought I'd come down here and give this a little go. Fishing a Portuguese rig, and the bait, all I've got is frozen black lug. And I'm here for about 3 or 4 hours. But while I'm here, this is one of the most haunted beaches, or is the most haunted beach in Suffolk, if not the UK. There's a lot of stories from this beach, and a lot of mysterious things happen. And tonight, I'm going to let you in to all of those stories. So here I am, fishing on the most haunted beach in Suffolk. Don't get me wrong, Suffolk also has a lot of history on other beaches. Different things have happened. One of the most notable is Shingle Street. Shingle Street during World War II, apparently the sea was alive with flame. And through them flames came hundreds of dead bodies, all burnt to a crisp, all washed up on the beach. And no one ever knows exactly what happened. Was it a British Army exercise that went wrong? Or was it a German invasion that they foiled by lighting the sea? All I know is that at Shingle Street, certain times on a cold, eerie night, I've got a bite. Oh, look at that, beautiful, that's a whiting. Certain times, you can apparently see people wandering up and down the beach in World War II uniforms. I've been fishing there before, and I've heard footsteps. When I was fishing by myself, footsteps slowly coming towards me. Not a deer, but these were human footsteps. And they came closer and closer to my shelter. I was expecting someone to poke their head round the corner, bearing in mind there was no one else on the beach. And when I looked out and put my head torch on, there was not a soul to be seen. And that was definitely not a deer. They were heavy human footsteps. No one was there. Make of that what you will. But tonight in this video, this is all about Dunwich. And you're going to hear 5 or 6 different stories from down here, which have been told through the ages, and different experiences people have had about the souls that haunt this beach. And like I say, I've got a bite. Probably a whiting, don't get me wrong. I've got 2 hooks out, so I'm going to leave that out, and I'll come back to you when I reel this rod in. And very soon I'll have the first story from this beach. This is my first cast, and we saw that bite a little while ago, so I'm going to reel it in, 'cause it's been out 20 minutes now. Let's just see if we got anything. Like I say, fishing this part of the tide isn't always great. Feels like there's something there. What am I expecting tonight? Whiting, and more whiting. I don't think there is anything there. Let me just go down to the water's edge. I'll be back in a second. No, there's definitely something there. Where are you? What have I got? Oh, lovely. I wasn't expecting that. Now, as we all know, bit of a tangle, but we'll sort it out in a minute. Dunwich is famous for its dabs. And if you look at this, first cast, got myself a little dab. Only tiny, however, it's a fish, not what I was expecting at night, or this early in the year, but that's lovely. First cast, Little dab. Happy days. Let's get this little fella back, get this untangled. And before we cast out next time, I'll show you everything I'm using tonight. I'm going to show you what I'm using tonight. I'm using my Verret Syria rod, Darwin emblem reel, loaded up with 16-pound line, down to a 60-pound shock leader, 3-ounce lead, and off the end of that, I'm fishing with a Portuguese rig. Portuguese rig, if you go through my backlog of videos, you'll see how to tie it. Perfect rig for when conditions are like this. No wind at all, super calm. Those fish should be feeding, it's free flowing, it sits in the water, super natural. Should get some fish, and as you saw from my first cast, I've had a dab. Happy days. I'm going to get this out. We'll come back with the first ghost story from this beach. The first and most probably well-known story from this beach is the bells of Dunwich Beach. I was fishing it a long time ago, just before dawn, and I swear I could hear faintly coming from the sea. Ding, ding, ding. And they say that is the bells from one of Dunwich's lost churches from many, many years ago. And they say that those bells are tolling because they're calling for all the lost souls on this beach and trying to claim them back to the sea, to the church that was washed away. It happens every now and then. Quite a lot of people have said they've heard it. And it's very, very faint, but you can hear it sometimes. Ding, ding, ding. And they say, when you hear those bells, you've got to be careful, because that means the sea is coming for you next. This is my second cast, and I've had some rattles, and it's been out a little while. So let's reel it in and see if there's anything else on there. If it's another dab, I'll be extremely happy. If it's a whiting, it's a fish. So that is all that matters. There's a little bit of weight there. Question is, what is it going to be? I might have to disappear off camera in a little while. There's actually quite a lot of weight there. What is that? One of those. What have we got? Could even be a crab. Well, like I say, there is quite a lot of weight there. Let that come through the waves. And we have Monsieur Whiting, which I knew we would get tonight, because they're out there. And it's the time of year for whiting. However, it is lovely to see one. Look at that. Well, I say lovely. They can be annoying, don't get me wrong. However, a fish is a fish, and that is the first whiting of the night. 2 casts, 2 fish. Fantastic. This is another occurrence on Dunwich Beach, a spooky occurrence. And this is the story of the sailor that never came home. There are reports on Dunwich Beach from fishermen and hikers alike that someday they see a man in a red coat just standing in the distance, staring out to sea. He doesn't say a word. He just stands there, staring, like he's waiting for something. And apparently, he's waiting for a ship that went down just off this coast 400 years ago. And he was washed up on this beach as a body, and he's never left. His soul still resides on this beach. One day, I was fishing down here, and I looked up, and in the distance, I saw a man staring out to sea, wearing this red coat. He never said a word and he never moved. He just stood there, staring out to sea. I looked away, thought that was quite strange, looked back again, and he was gone. Just disappeared in the thin air. And like I say, he still haunts this beach, waiting for that ship to return for 400 years. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:20, and low tide is now upon us. I'm still getting rattles on the rod, which is amazing, because I was worried a little bit, to be honest with you, coming and fishing down here over low tide. We wouldn't see any fish, but so far, 2 casts, 2 fish. We've had a dab and a whiting. Not too shabby, not too shabby. However, this rod is twitching. I'll let it go one more time. I've been standing there watching it. It has been rattling quite a bit. Probably another whiting, but we'll find out in a little while when I reel it in. It'd be lovely to see a flounder tonight. It really would. That is what I would love to see tonight down here. But I don't think we'll see one on the frozen black lugworm. Need rag down here for them. But I will be back through the winter to do a proper video down here on the flats. That I'm certain. I do like doing videos down here on flats. You've probably seen 1 or 2 in the past. It's good. It's good down here. When a nice crisp winter's day, flat calm sea, the flatties come out to play. They really do. And that rod has gone a few times so far. So, yeah, I'm going to reel it in. See if there's anything on it. Like I say, probably a whiting. However, we will find out in a second if there's even anything on it. Which it feels like there is. Might not be, he says. Just going to disappear off camera. That's the problem with fishing at night. I do apologise. When you're fishing at night, unfortunately, you can't get a full view of the sea. This might actually, I think there is something there. There's definitely some weight. Let that wave bring it in. What do we have? Ooh, that's a nice one. That's a nice size white, and that is double shot. Double shot of whiting. Top hook, Mr. Whiting. Bottom hook, better size whiting. He's not a bad little blighter at all, to be honest with you. So there we have it. What we call a double shot. 2 hooks, 2 fish. Amazing. Maybe telling these ghost stories is getting these fish to come out to feed. Now I'm using size 6 hooks. So unfortunately, they're not taking it down far, but they are taking it down further than what you would really hope, to be honest with you. If I can get this unhooked. Right, I'm going to have to get the discorder out. I'll get these 2 unhooked, and I'll come back to you in a minute. Behind me, up on the cliffs, lay the ruins of the Greyfriars Monastery. Now, reportedly, hundreds of years ago, when the king's men came to close this monastery, the friars refused to leave. And I believe they were all slaughtered. And apparently, those monks are still there. There are reports on a cold, dark night, up in the ruins, you see friars, the shapes of the friars still gliding around amongst the ruins. Faces covered and the faint burning of lamps. One visitor has reported up there that she walked through into the monastery at night and she smelt the faint smell of burning candle wax. And in the shadows, she could see the shapes of the friars huddled together, moving around just like they would have done all those hundreds of years ago. You can visit that monastery and the ruins, but my suggestion to you would be not to visit it at night, because that place up there, the monastery, is full of the souls of all those friars. And I just had a slack liner. Just while I was filming this bit before, I looked up and my rod was completely slack. So, let's keep an eye on it and see if it does anything else. It might do, it might not. Like I say, the tide is now on the flood. So it's going to creep up slowly. It's not a massive tide tonight. So by the time I leave, it probably won't even be up to us, but there may be a time when I have to vacate up the shingle a little bit. I'll give this a few minutes and I'll come back to you when I reel it in. In the woods behind me, on top of the cliffs, there's a story of a servant girl who was due to run away with her lover. She disappeared before she could actually do it. No one knows what happened to her, vanished without a trace. But even now, apparently, you can hear the voice of the male going through the woods, calling her name, trying to find her. Walkers walking through the woods have said they've heard whispers in the trees and felt a hand on their shoulder. And these whispers always lead you towards the cliff. But when you reach the cliff, the whispering stops. And it's almost as if they're trying to guide you to walk straight over the cliff into your death. That rod keeps banging. It's banging away. More whiting. I reckon as this tide floods, it is going to be absolutely insane. Just tighten up to that because that's got a little bit slack. Don't know if you can see that rod tip anymore, unfortunately. My big light's decided to die, so that's now on a low setting. But you might still be able to see it. Bang, bang, banging away to the sound of the whiting, which we knew would be here. We knew there'd be a lot of them. However, it's absolutely alive with them out there. It really is. And it feels really spooky down there. It really does. I think there may be one other person fishing up there, but he may have gone. I haven't seen his head torch for a little while. So it might just be me on this whole stretch of beach down at Dunwich. And it is pretty cold. I'm not going to lie to you. As you can see, I've got my woolly hat on, my thick coat. Even got my salopettes on tonight. It's got to be done. When the winter comes, you've got to stay warm. There's no two ways about it. But you'll keep warm enough running up and down here with the whiting. If I had fresh worm tonight, fresh worm baits, it would be absolutely insane. I reckon I wouldn't be able to keep that rod in the water. But because I'm using frozen black lug, it's taking a little while longer. Because these fish much prefer frozen baits. Fresh baits, sorry, not frozen. Love to see another flatfish before I go. That is what I want. But I've got a feeling it's going to be predominantly whiting. But who knows? I'll bring you back when I reel this rod in. That rod tip's still rattling. Like I say, sorry you can't see it as well with the light. That's why I don't really like doing nighttime videos. However, it's still pulling and it's still rattling. So let's reel this in and see how many whiting are on it. A little bit of weight. In fact, quite a lot of weight. Definitely say we've got a whiting on here. Or maybe not. It's just gone like, no, maybe it has. Might just be the way it's coming in. Just gonna have to go down for this one because there is quite a lot of weight on there. It's probably a double shot. No, it's just the... Oh, it is a double shot. Oh, and I've got what I wanted. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you whiting on the top hook and Mr. Dab on the bottom hook. I've got my other flatfish that I wanted. Fantastic, look at that. 2 hooks, 2 fish. That sea is alive out there, it really is. But that's the one I really love. Look how small he is. It's a dab. They're very small around here. They do get bigger in some places. I've had them up to 30 centimetres. But for some reason, that is the size they seem to be at the minute. Well, at the minute, that's the size they have been for quite a while. Hooked right in the chops. Beautiful. And Mr. Whiting is hooked in the chops as well. But look at that, a tiny little beautiful fish. Absolutely beautiful. Right, I'm going to put these back and I'll get some more baits out. There we go, look, I've got another 2 frozen black lugworm baits ready to go out on the Portuguese rig. I'm not casting it far tonight, I'm probably casting it 40 yards if that, so I know them fish will be in close. I know that's where them little flatfish will be, which is really what I want to target. I've had another one, so I'm happy. Whiting, had a few of them. One of them has been quite a decent size, but most of them are small. But we expect that this time of year, you know. The whiting are in, they're like vermin, they're like locusts. They go up and down, they eat everything they can get. So, I'm going to get this out, and I'll come back with the last ghost story in a second. And now it's time, the last story tonight down here in Dunwich. And this story is of a gravestone that's at the top of that cliff. And that gravestone is of a man, Jacob Codling, on the 12th of March, 1796. Now those cliffs behind us are eroding at quite a pace. And the sea is getting closer and closer to claiming that gravestone. And there's a lot of fishermen that have reported at night looking up onto the cliffs and they see a ghostly figure standing by that gravestone. And they say it's Jacob himself, just standing there, staring out to sea, waiting for the waves to come and take him and his grave back into the water. People have also reported with this gravestone, when you walk close to it, the ground suddenly becomes soft underneath and it almost feels like you're being pulled down into the ground, so the sea can take you away as well, along with Jacob himself. This cast's been out a little while now. Probably going to reel this one in and have one more after this, but let's just see if there's anything on it. There is a bit of tide run now as well. That tide is nailing it off to the right hand side. That is really pulling round. There's definitely some weight on here, which is always good. Walking down, sorry to go off camera. I reckon, if anything, it's going to be a whiting. Where are you? Oh no, it's not a whiting. It's another double shot of a dab and a whiting. Look at this. Hey, that. There's a dab. And there's the whiting. Oop, come back, little lady. So that's your whiting. And you got your dab there as well. Absolutely marvellous. That is fantastic. So, I'm going to give it one last cast. I'm going to get on my way. I love catching dabs. I really, really do. They are one of my favourite fish. They really are. So, we'll get these unhooked, get this last cast out. Let's see what we catch on the last one. This is the last cast now coming in. It's pulled quite a way around. There's a bit of tide run out there, which is always good. But that is me done for the night. And there's a little bit of weight on there, so I'm assuming it's a whiting. Let's have a look though and see what we got. If you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button, give us a like. It helps the channel to grow massively. Really appreciate it. If you're watching this and you're not into fishing, then you've watched this just for the ghost stories, thank you very much. This place is one spooky, eerie beach at night. Well, let's have a look. And I've finished off with a dab. Fantastic. Just to be honest with you, how I would have loved to have finished. Catching dabs at night on a spooky beach. Hey up, calm down. Look at that, eh? Beautiful fish, bit bigger than the others. They seem to have increased in size as the tides flood them. And that is the end of that session. But just remember, this beach may look calm and surreal, but a little bit spooky right now. But the ghosts of Dunwich are always here, whispering beneath the waves.